Hello, hello. Welcome to this very special discussion panel for the first Scottish Goddess Conference. We are here today to talk about the role of a priestess, the role of modern priestesses. So all women gather here are priestesses, and we are sisters in this service to the goddess and also to the community. And some people, they still wonder what the role of a priestess in this century is. And we are here to discuss a little bit about our experiences and how we were called to the goddess or certain deities. How do we share this path? And we just hope you're going to enjoy this discussion panel. So today I have the pleasure to introduce you to a wonderful group of women from different parts and around the world. So I'm going to start naming them. I can see them up here on my screen. So we got Leslie Harris from the UK. We got Jessie Matthews from the States. We got Annie Duke from Australia. We got Lynn Pacificar from the States. Mariana Vital from Portugal. Jade Melanie from the north of England. And we've got Sarita Desti from Glastonbury. And we have another wonderful priestess joining from Venezuela in a few minutes. So I will introduce her when she arrives. But I'm going to give these beautiful and amazing women a few minutes to introduce themselves, so you can hear from themselves what they do and why they're here. So Leslie, if you'd like to start.
Yeah, I'm a priestess in the Fellowship of Isis, and also I'm a Obodin Druid. That's the Order of Bards, Ovids and Druids. I don't really know what to say. I help run a lyceum in the Fellowship of Isis with a friend, and we meet monthly. And if there wasn't a pandemic on, they would meet at our house. But as there is a pandemic on, we meet virtually on Zoom, and I organise all that. And I think all priestesses should do a bit of service. So I work at the courts one day a week, the local courts one day a week, with the victims of crime, supporting them on what can be a perfectly horrible day of their lives. That's all I've got to say at the moment.
Well, thank you. We have Sosire Aide Hernando joining from Venezuela. Hello, can you hear us? Well, we can see her, so hopefully she will be ready in a few minutes. So, Jessie, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Yesha Matthews. I'm the Mandala priestess of the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple. We have a temple here at the base of Mount Shasta in Northern California, in Siskiyou County. Siskiyou County is considered one of the last frontier regions of North America, in large part because of the small ratio of people to animals here and nature. Vast acreages of unspoiled land are all around, but the towns here have undergone tremendous economic hardship due to a wide variety of different industries kind of coming through and leaving. So even though this is a place that's lush and rich for tourism, it's an area where a lot of the people living here are living in poverty. So my service is to serve kind of both of those communities, the people who come through this area on spiritual pilgrimage to the mountain to make connection with the sacred landscape, as well as the people who are living here and in many cases struggling to get by. The Mount Shasta Goddess Temple has a lot of different projects. We have priestess training, we have classes. I've developed the Goddess Temple app, which is a phone app and online social networking site. And inside of the app, we offer different levels of connection through classes, full moon ceremonies. We have a dark moon women's circle every month. Sometimes I'll do Sabbath circles or things like that, just as something special. I support a lot of women who have their own businesses in getting their businesses off the ground, their craft and creative businesses. I'm a business owner myself, and I have a shop, and the shop is what supports me so that I'm able to do my spiritual work. I'm an ordained high priestess in the Dianic tradition. I was ordained by Z Budapest. I'm also a Vajrayana practitioner. I'm a priestess of Oshun in Ifa, a divination system from Nigeria involving the Orishas. I have studied and continue to study Mongolian shamanism, Nepalese and Tibetan shamanism. And I'm someone who just loves the adventure of life and finds spirit in everything that I do. And our mandala of goddesses in the temple that we work with represent the many years that I've spent kind of cultivating relationships with different beings from different traditions. Thank you for letting me come and share a little bit from my heart today.
Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Anik Duke, welcome. Anik, we don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, all good.
All right. Well, here I am sitting in the Temple of the Global Goddess, which is on Wanneroo land, which is the Aboriginal land here, and it's called Maitland in our English language. And I've been walking with the goddess now since I was 28 years old, and I'm 73, so I can't really do the math that quickly. But I've been walking with the goddess for a very, very long time. And during that time, I've had many, many teachers. I've taught myself a great deal about a great many traditions and so on. And I've brought all of those traditions together into what I believe to be a pretty unique way of worshipping goddess. I work only with women only, because I feel that my work of service as a priestess of the goddess is to remind women, to help women remember, using the word remember as a way of expressing, bringing back together our great and glorious global women's goddess tradition. So I teach a 3-year priestess training course here at the temple, where we go back to the pre-patriarchal times. I have absolutely no interest in thinking about, teaching about, ceremonying about, anything about any of the patriarchal religions. And so I go back primarily to the Minoan, Cretan Minoan traditions in order to source the very rich connection that the Minoans had through art and many other multidisciplinary ways with goddess and with the land. The temple has now trained quite a few priestesses, and together with my priestesses, we organise the Australian Goddess Conference here every year, and are also planning the Priestess Convocation in Crete which unfortunately had to be postponed because of COVID, but it's only a matter of time. The convocation will happen. And so as a priestess, my work of service is to work with women to help women remember who we are, what our power is, and how powerful we are, and how it is incumbent on us as women, particularly those of us that are not attached to men, so that we are totally free. It's up to us to really do the hard work of naming and reclaiming that ancient, pure goddess tradition. That is why I am not a pagan. I do not acknowledge the god or the masculine. I work purely with the pure feminine divine that I see as the supreme creative force on this planet.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for introducing yourself to the panel. Lynn Pacificar, querida, will you introduce yourself to the panel?
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Buenos días a todos. ¿Cómo está Cayo en la hat? I'm multilingual because I grew up here in Los Angeles, where we have so many cultures, and it's just a complete privilege to be amongst so many different type of peoples and spiritual beliefs. I'm the daughter of Filipino immigrants of the diaspora here on Tongva land. And I do the work as an albulario and a katuoran, which is a Visayan shamanic priestess and healer. When I say we, I mean in the general sense, but for me, I do a lot of rituals for our community in creating products with my company, Herbalaria, which is an ancestral roots family company connecting indigenous traditions to the community through the art of Filipino plant and energy medicine. I've been doing this for a very long time. My training starts at a very young age with my father, who was a manghihilot, a designated healer in the community, who taught me since I was 5, and in martial arts, in what we call Filipino martial arts, FMA, as an escrimador, and learning how to deal with spirits, because our talents or our gifts in seeing the spirit realm is so strong at a very young age. And I'm sure some of you can relate and what that feels like. But to be fostered in that, in the normalcy of that in a traditional home is very rare, especially growing up here in Los Angeles. And so bringing these traditions to the Filipino community of the diaspora, and also educating everyone else about us, that we're more than just, the nurses or the people, the domestic helpers, but that we have these talents and skills that are innate within us. And that's part of the work I'm doing, which is decolonizing what Christianity has done to our country, to the Philippines. And that's a very, very layered and complex work. But I try to approach it from a very holistic sense with Herbalaria, or through Herbalaria, and putting myself boldly out there as a medium, as a connector to the ancestors. I do shamanic journeys. The first time I've ever done shamanic journeying virtually with about 100 people, or I've held a container between 50 to 100 people. And that's a feat that's not easy in itself, but listening to ancestors and being adaptable to this work now in this type of environment that we're all subjected to, and being virtual, has allowed me to do and continue the work. And with reference to the goddess has been with me also since I was very young. I've dreamt of her because I grew up Catholic. Our view of goddess was put into the Blessed Mother. And she's given me messages over the years as I grew up, and even said, I may not be there with you expressly, but I'm there with you. So Goddess has always been with me. And the way I teach our community is through that, is to help Mother Earth, environmentalism, environmental justice work. And right now, Herbolaria is helping to create an arboretum in the Philippines to help reforest. We have
Beautiful.
about 11% of primary forest left, right? And I know this is a huge global issue. Mother Earth is hurting. And if we continue to allow this hurt, we're not going to have a home. And Mother Earth goddess is not going to, she's already not happy. So we're, just giving that expression through the work I do is a wake up call, in a sense, for people who have been growing up so colonized and asleep. And it's just a privilege and honor to be that ritualist, to be that conduit, to be the gateway for the work of the goddess in this form. So I'm grateful for the time I get to share some of what I've been doing in the community and sharing with everyone today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ling. Now we're going to meet Mariana Vital from Portugal. If you would like to introduce yourself to the panel and to the people that will be listening to this panel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ness. Thank you so much for being able, and I am honored to be around you and knowing of you in your lives, in your commitments to our service as priestesses. I came from Portugal. I was also raised as a Catholic, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Our whole culture revolves around the sense of women must sacrifice, and the female should sacrifice herself as a whole. And this is seen as a natural thing. So the mission of empowerment, it's also a mission of recovery and cure, and it's not just healing in the sense of, oh, we have something that bleeds and we need to stop it. No, it's appropriation of this pain and see, in terms of historically, our grandmothers, our grandmothers are part of this pattern, and we are too. I do not see my grandmothers were Catholic their whole lives, and they did not see themselves as in any other way. I do not have hard feelings for them because they didn't see a goddess where I see. I think they were amazing women, that they did all they can do just to raise their families in the best way possible. But this is a healing process, nevertheless. So being Catholic and finding paganism in my teens has brought me to this path. I work especially with the Sumerian tradition. I am a priestess devoted to Inanna in my temple of Inanna. I am connected with 3 institutions. So I have my Portuguese physical temple here in Portugal, the Temple de Inanna, and I have also links with Temple of Inanna online and Temple of Summer online as well. I was brought to this wonderful world by a wonderful person that me and us have in common, Steffi. And because of him, I have met many people that changed my path in a good way, in a good sense. They influenced me. And I've dedicated myself to be seen as a pagan in a Catholic country as this exotic sense of being. So I am an exotic person because I am a polytheistic, which is really stretching out the tolerance card here, because in a monotheistic country, polytheistic is really wild. I know that many of you already know that we in Portugal, in the past tend to travel a lot and colonized a lot, and we did a lot of stuff that now there are a lot of people in countries that are healing from. So we have this also this scar of slavery and mixture of cultures that were obliged, that were demanded, that were not natural. but even those have thrived in our culture because they all in a syncretic way, they all contribute to what we have now as a religious and spiritual culture in Portugal. So we have orishas, so we have Catholic saints, so we have many influences in our cultural in our religious patterns, but they are just not allowed to see themselves out of the monotheistic pattern. So to be a polytheistic and a woman is a bit of challenge. Even though my commitment as a priestess revolves around what Ness has said in the beginning. I do not want to use the expression educate, but it's probably the best one. To make people sensitive to the possibilities that religious and spirituality have for all, especially for women, because my work also brought me to women's circles and treating and working with the female in our all sacredness of the female goddesses and the feminine. And that it's really a wonderful challenge, even if it's big. So in my work in the Temple of Inanna, I work with women, I work with men also, because as a Sumerian recon, I work with both gods and goddesses. Inanna is our queen, completely ruling over our temple, but we also work with gods that interact with her in our midst and help us to comprehend and understand what the cosmology around the Sumerian is. I also work with academia. I am linked with the University of Lisbon, Lusófona University, and I commit myself with interfaith work. I believe that in this especially delicate place that we are now in our history, we really need to work our differences and make some sense of them. So I am committed with the interfaith work as a pagan, as a polytheistic, and as a mother, because it's a challenge to see the lack of culture or the lack of interest in those issues from a really young age, and we need to spark that interest and we need to spark that responsibility once and for all. So here's me. I am a priestess that works in the temple and works outside the temple, and I am really pleased and honored to be here with you all.
Obrigada.
Obrigada.
Muito obrigada. So next one in my screen is Jade Melanie. Jade, if you would like to introduce yourself.
I will now that I've unmuted my audio. Hi, I am extremely honoured to be among the company present, and thank you so much for inviting me, Ness. I am touched and honoured. I came to the goddess in several ways. I came through a healing journey of my own when I became interested in Reiki, and I went on to do the Reiki Masters and all that kind of path. After learning Reiki, I did lots of group work, and it seems like certain kinds of people came to me after being through abusive relationship in the past. The ladies who were drawn to me were people that were going through those kind of experiences. So I've created groups and support networks for them to support each other locally. I joined the Fellowship of Isis in 2017, but it was a remote priestess attunement. So I've carried on doing the remote since then. In our community, it's a very God-orientated community, and the children in the school that are with my children, they all have some very interesting conversations because my children take part in all the stuff that I do. So they go and then explain that to their friends. So I've been asked if I'll come and speak about what I do in schools. So that's going to be part of my work going forwards, is to bring the goddess to children and explain that path to them. And I'm really looking forward to that when we're allowed to go back into places after coronavirus. And lately, the goddess has been speaking to me through clay, which I haven't touched since I was 17, 18, and creating goddess figurines for people that have asked me, will I make them altar gods and goddesses to put in their sacred space. And there's a small group of us ladies, priestesses, who've come together locally to create a grove. We don't have anywhere yet to plant our trees, but I have quite a few trees that have come to me, and they're all growing out the back, and we're going to look for somewhere to plant a grove so that it can be a sacred space that everyone can come together in the community and work together and learn in the space together. So thank you.
Thank you. I know someone that already has a grove with many trees. So the next one to be introduced to this discussion panel is Sarita Desai, and she owns that grove. Sarita, will you introduce yourself to the discussion panel?
Of course I will, but I don't technically own the grove. The grove is owned by my partner, but we did plant it together. And it's in a very, very special place on Glastonbury Tor. Private land completely there, and we spent last night there with all the kind of crazy partying and drumming going on Glastonbury Tor. So I'm very fortunate to live here in Glastonbury. My name is Sarita Desai. I wasn't born in England. In fact, I was trying to explain this to somebody today, and I described myself as an African of European descent, which is true. I was born in Africa. I was raised in Africa. And I'm mostly of European descent, but actually I've got a little bit of Filipino and a little bit of, quite a lot of Italian, some French, some Dutch, I'm a mishmash I'm like the United Nations of origins all in one. And I'm very lucky to live in Glastonbury. It's a very magical place. Many of you I've met here in Glastonbury over the years, and it's a wonderful place to learn about all kinds of different traditions. But my journey to the gods started in Africa as a child. There's a lot of folkloric tradition, very heavy Christian leanings. But between that, people tend to hold on to little customs and little superstitions. And all that combined with some psychic experiences led me to study mythology and also magic, what I could lay my hands on as a teenager. And I eventually got initiated when I was probably too young into initiatory witchcraft. And in my 20s, I became a high priestess in that tradition and started teaching. I was also ordained in the Fellowship of Isis. It's part of many people's journey to, I guess, try out different things and experience different things. Unlike some of the ladies that spoke, my work is not dedicated entirely to the feminine divine. I'm a polytheist, so I believe in the existence of many deities, not just one universal goddess, but actually many different gods and goddesses and spirits and dryads and elementals and all kinds of things. In my personal practice, I'm dedicated above all others probably to the goddess of the crossroads, Hecate, who some will know as a Greek goddess, but her origins are more likely to be in Anatolia, Phrygia, with a little bit of possible influences either towards Crete or from Crete, which I know was mentioned earlier, but also into the north of Greece, around the Balkan, which of course was the home, the Black Sea, which was of course the home to her most famous priestess, Medea, who is an example actually of, I kind of say, you know, this and that and the other, but Medea is an example of a woman who throughout history has had very different accounts of her life told. But whatever the truth of the story is, she wasn't an oppressed woman. She was a woman that was a priestess, but she was also a princess. Her father was the king. Her aunties were Pasiphae from Crete, married to King Minos. And her other auntie was Circe, also a very powerful magician or sorceress, some would say, in her own right. So not surprisingly, all those women had this connection to Hecate, and they are all in different ways role models to me that I work with, also in a kind of ancestral way with their spirits. And, you know, it's really interesting sometimes to try and learn from that. So my personal work is primarily focused on theurgy, which is not something lots of people in the goddess movement is necessarily familiar with. It's the short way of explaining it is divine working. It's formal rituals with a lot of devotional work aimed at union with the divine. So although I do community work, I'm a key bearer in the Covenant of Hecate, which I founded 10 years or so ago. I served as a high priestess in Wicca, as I said. I see the kind of majority of my work to be inner work and to be work learning from spirit, learning from the deities I honour, primarily Hecate, but also Hermes, Zeus, Apollo, also Artemis. I'm very, very, very fond of Artemis, although I'm slightly frightened of her sometimes, because she is quite a force to reckon with. And I also work with the local spirits, the genus loci, which I guess comes from my witchcraft roots, kind of having this need to kind of connect to the spirits of the land and the ancestors of the land in which I find myself. And that will be different depending on where in the world I find myself. In my mundane world, I am the mother of a teenager. I love gardening. I grow a lot of herbs and fruit, including the grove that Ness mentioned that she and some of the rest of you have actually been to, where it's a circle of apple trees, and it's absolutely gorgeous right now because all the blossom is out. And my day job is that of an esoteric publisher. I run a small company called Avalonia, and I publish books on the occult, but also books on mythology and folklore, such as books on different gods and goddesses, including a series by Leslie Jackson, who I know will also be speaking at the Scottish conference later this year. Who's written books on like Isis and Sekhmet and Hathor. It's all history books and books on modern practice that is rooted in history. So a little bit different from some of the other ladies here, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that overlap, and you know, we're all united by that love of the goddess, which I definitely have, even though I also honor male divinities. And for me, just to kind of summarize, because I'm blabbling and I can blabble, I talk a lot. For me, a priestess is somebody who serves. I feel that my work as a priestess is to serve, and that's to serve my gods and also the community that are linked to my gods. I don't see it as anything more than that. For me, it's just about service.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, the next one on my screen is Sosire Aide Hernando. I'm not sure if Aide, could you unmute your microphone, please, and introduce yourself to this discussion panel and the people that will be listening to you and to us.
Well, hi, this is a real pleasure. ¿Me oyes? ¿No? And
Sí,
everybody hear me?
te oigo, pero la pantalla se quedó freeze.
Well, my name is Solcide. I'm from Venezuela, and I is like I say is an umbrella, and I was born here in America. Do you hear? Everybody hear me?
Yes, oh, she's gone. I think she lost her connection. Oh dear. Well, we're gonna give her a few minutes. I'm going to introduce myself in the meantime, and then we will give ID back her turn. So I'm Ness Bosch. I am the head of the Ascota Goddess Temple, the Goddess Temple in Alba in Scotland. Before that, I was the head of the Granada Goddess Temple in Spain, and before that, I've been holding spaces and sanctuaries for the community for quite a long time. I was also a torchbearer for the Covenant of Ekete, and I was holding a sanctuary, and I was doing a lot of work for the Spanish-speaking community. I published for my sanctuary, I did the first devotional guide to Goddess Hecate in Spanish. I was also I am ordained as sea priestess, and I hold the covenant of the waters, and I share the mysteries and the path of the waters with people from different countries in the world. And before that, I've been in the shamanic path for many years. I was for some years following the Lakota tradition. I am a sun dancer. I dance in the European sun dance circle. I hold a pipe, and before that, I was always in a mystical path. I encountered the goddess and the gods at a very, very early age as a little girl. I'm a dream walker. I am a walker in between the worlds, and I start kind of communicating with the invisible and the gods when I was a little girl. Actually, it was Isis was the first goddess to come to me when I was very, very little. And I used to draw her, and I used to scare my mom because I was drawing all goddesses, and she was very Catholic, and she was very scared because I was doing that. So I kind of always been in a sacred path. And as Sarita said, I see my role as a priestess, very much of being of service to the community. You know, I help people that need guidance. I'm always trying to organize things to bring the community together and to kind of open the community for all the people, you know, with different events and different projects. Right now I'm working very hard so we can have a physical temple of the goddess here in Alba in Scotland. I actually came here guided by the gods, and I follow, and I'm putting out my energy to do this for not only for the Scottish community, but for the international community and for everybody that wants to connect with the goddess here in Scotland as well. And this conference is a way to serve, you know, my putting my energy into creating these kind of events and bring people together and bring the goddess spirituality to, you know, to open a window for the goddess spirituality to the world is my way of serving the gods as well, kind of opening this window. And I'm very grateful for this path that I walk. I'm very grateful for the connection. I'm very grateful for my ancestors. I'm a bit like Sarita as well. I've got so many bloods in me, you know, and I honor each of my ancestors and the spirits. And obviously, coming from a shamanic path, the way I approach the gods is very shamanic. And I'm grateful for you, for this beautiful group of women that have gathered here today to be able to share. So I'm going to give Sire, I hope her connection is good enough to be able to introduce herself. And we're going to get on with some questions that we're going to answer in group and share about our experience. So Sire, are you there?
Can you hear me?
No, very, very low.
Oh, well, is the connection in here in Venezuela is not very good. I'm sorry for that. But
Okay.
It's a real pleasure to share this time with everybody here. And thank you very much for the invitation, my dear Ness. Did you hear me?
Yes. Would you like to share a little bit about what you do, about your path?
Yeah, the president of the Venezuela Neo-Pagan Union and the high priest of the Coven and of the North Star. I teach here. I work with our community for the right. It's not has been no easy. It's the time, but I come in for a
I think Idea's connection is not very good.
A real mix of Spanish heritage, Irish, Scotland. It's a real problem here in Venezuela. The connection is real.
Oh gosh, she's gone. Oh, that's a shame. Well, she's trying to connect again. I think we're going to.
Okay.
Yes, maybe.
Experience with the
So Aide, we can hear you very well. Maybe you can try to turn your video off. Maybe that will help so we can hear you better.
Okay.
Let's try.
Ajá, como quito para detener el video. Now you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's better. Sorry to everybody for because here in Venezuela is a really bad connection the internet. I will try to do my best. Well, my name is Solcide. I am the president of the Venezuela Neo-Pagan Union and the high priest of the Coven Estrella del Norte, North Star. I'm working very hard for our community because Venezuela is a very Catholic country. It has been really hard to work here, but it's a magical place to be because we very hard from the beginning of this working with the Venezuelan Neo-Pagan Union. But the start with the goddess was for my grandmother. My grandmother was Irish and Scottish, and she taught me how to love the air, how to love be the different. Because when I was 7, 8 years old, I started to see people has been dead and to hear them. And it was a very strange experience for a very young girl. And my grandmother gave me the key to being normal, to be happy for what happened to me. She did to hear the grandmother. She said, you can be and can hear wherever. That was my first connection with the goddess. And since that moment, she wrote my heart, and I feel very secure in this path with the goddess. I have very experience here in Venezuela with the goddess of the land, with the spirit. But my goddess that is in my heart is Hecate. I worked with her since I was very young, and I was planning to make a temple for her in Venezuela. I'm working with other goddess, but for me, she is the star of my life. And I teach my coven the love I have for her. But I'm working with my Celtic heritage, with Morgan, with Bridget, and with the goddess of this land. I have been to the Amazon, tried to help to prevent the destruction that I have, and I have a shamaning could teach, and I enjoyed the goddess of this land. It's a beautiful, it's an Indian goddess, the goddess of the jungle.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your effort, especially having such a bad connection. So, ladies, I'm going to start with a round of questions. Some of you have already answered a bit some of this. So I'm going to do the questions and just give turns and give you a few minutes so you can answer for everybody for the discussion panel, okay? How is it to be a priestess of the 21st century? Leslie, what would you say?
Well, it's a strange position to be in, because you can't be an official priestess paid and have a church, at least not in England. So I think running the Lyceum and actually having my house as a temple is a bit weird. The living room knows when it's a temple and knows when it's a living room, which is fortunate. But also, you can't do the pastoral work in the way that you would do if you were an Anglican vicar. So you have to make up what you do in a way. So I work in the courts. I also, when there isn't a pandemic on, work in a local museum, just to connect with the spirit of the land. And it's also when my father visited when he was a little boy, so that's quite interesting. So it's a very strange position. It's not like being a Christian priest. You have to sort of make up your own way, don't you? You have to make up your own path and find what suits you. It wouldn't suit me to. I love training people. I love mentoring people. I really do. But they're few and far between, and they're always very inspiring, and they're always really rather wonderful. But it's a different role to Christian priests. It's a very different role, and it's, in a way, I quite like being hidden and nobody knowing I exist. So I'm a bit surprised to be here, but hey.
Yeah. So, Anik, how is it for you? How do you find to be a priestess of this century?
I feel in the 21st century, we're placed with a particular challenge. I feel we're coming to a tipping point. We've all been talking about the patriarchy and the fall of the patriarchy and when will this happen? And I have been praying for it diligently and systematically now for years and years and years. And I think what we're seeing now in the 21st century is the beginning of that. And so more and more and more, those of us that have had the veils lifted are understanding that our role will be to reclaim whatever it is possible to reclaim in terms of our feminine goddess worshipping culture, because I feel it is now in even more danger than ever before, because the patriarchy, the backlash from the patriarchy is becoming horrendous. So for me, the primary part of my work as a priestess in the 21st century is to begin to honor what I have personally created, and my sisters, all of you and other sisters around the world, what we have personally created as our contribution. And for me, it happens to be the music. So as some of you know, I have 7 original CDs of goddess music. We need to start claiming our own work as being iconic. So we need to see the things we create, the art, the music, the teachings. For example, my 3-year priestess training fills 6 voluminous, lever arch folders of work. And that, if I ever get the energy and an apprentice that will do it with me, will become a number of tomes of work. And I want us to start honouring those works and what we do as much as we honour the ancient ones. Because for many of us, we don't know what our ancestors were. I don't know. I was born in Egypt, and I was born of Lebanese and Egyptian French mother, and I don't know what else I've got in my blood as well. I haven't done the old DNA thing, but I intend to. But I want us to start to understand that we don't have to look back to the ancient artifacts to get that vibe. That vibe is here now in what we do. And so as a priestess in the 21st century, for me, it's saying, you have the right You have the right, my sister, to be as strong and powerful and vocal as you want to be about your own work. And, you know, let's stop this trying to hide our light under a bushel because we're scared of being cut down. In Australia, we have what's called the tall poppy syndrome. If you pop your head up above the crowd, they'll slice it off. Well, I've been popping my head up above the crowd for many, many years now, and I've been sliced off many, many, many times, but it will never stop me from honoring who and what I am, because I am no different to you and to you and to you. I am goddess, and I need, as a high priestess of my own community, to help women to really claim that and to stop questioning. If something is coming through you, it's needed in the world. There is no need for all this false modesty. If you create something and it needs to come through you, then let it and celebrate it and, you know, speak up. So for me, the 21st century is the challenge to allow women to speak up and be who we really are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to give turn to Lynn. Lynn, how is it for you to be a priestess of this era?
Oh, wow. It's interesting, especially being Pinay and Filipina, and this theme keeps on coming up about the Christianization, the colonization of our cultures, because many of our babaylans and our albalarios were killed and massacred along with our traditions and belief systems, and whatever was left. And I heard this from, I think it was Sarita. We tend to hold on to certain superstitions, and we do intertwine so that we don't lose all of it, but it's hidden in some of our practice right now. And being a priestess is being bold. And I echo Anik's, or Lola A is how I call her, Anik's sentiments about not during this time. And I am honest. I try to utilize the tools of social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I may not want to, and that's part of our tradition. The old way was to be modest, to be very hush-hush about our work. It's very sacred, very powerful. That's why you don't see multiple Filipino priestesses and shamans in our traditions out in public, because that was not the way. The way was to keep it as close to the home and in the family, and our spells, our incantations were only passed down through certain things and people. And so as I continue teaching and priestessing, I boldly challenge some of our community members and their belief systems, and what that means to believe in God. What are you reflecting? Treating each other well? Are you even treating Mother Earth well? Do you know we have animistic religious or spiritual beliefs pre-colonial, and that in that animistic belief system, we're supposed to be connecting with our trees, with the rocks, with the land, with the waters? And in that sense, I'm reminding through my priestess work other folks to never forget their source of origin, which is Mother Earth. And I'm always talking about Mother Earth. I will never stop talking about Mother Earth. And I may have been cut down on certain level, but I'm not afraid of that either, because in our tradition as well, like there's a certain fear for being an albulario or being someone who can do this type of work, because that fear was instilled by the missionaries that we were witches. And there are people in our community who claim to be Filipino witches. I personally don't use the word witch. They can call me that, I don't care. But at the same rate, like, the work I do is very sacred. I don't tell everybody my process. There's very few people I teach or apprentice. I can know like 5 people. It's not I don't have a school that is catering to the Western ways of, I'm going to certify you, because we never did certification. And I may have to also adjust to that in the future, just so that we can get everybody educated in some way. But as long as we're moving towards the direction of decolonizing those constructs of patriarchy, number one, capitalism, number two, and that's why with Herbal Art, with my company, just being in my malong, being who I am, wearing my traditional tattoos is so bold, and it's intimidating to many businessmen in the scene, because you don't normally see, first of all, an Asian woman in their eyes coming forth with her traditions, being very vocal about her tradition and culture, and not being ashamed of it. So I am very proud to even stand as a priestess in the 21st century, as a beacon of light and inspiration for all the other folks in our community, outside our community, and around the world, to stand up and fight alongside with me, because this is a kind of fight. You know, we are warriors. If anything, we're warrior priestesses. We are up against this entity of patriarchy and colonialism that has been upon us for many, many centuries, for thousands of years, in at least in our culture. And we are together in modern times, gathering as goddess priestesses, polytheistic priestesses, that we're going to join forces to start remediating, healing, and bringing back and remembering how it is to live in harmony with each other and with Mother Earth.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I'm listening to you ladies, and I'm, you know, my head is just running my thoughts, you know, and I do believe it is very hard to be a priestess in the 21st century. It's very hard. We lack the structure that they had in antiquity. You know, we lack the structures, we lack, you know, the temples, we lack the support from the state, you know, we lack a lot of things, you know. I believe modern priestesses are rather solitary in comparison, you know, in compared to the old priestesses, you know. And I think one of our challenges is actually to be visual and to say, we are here, we exist, we work for the community, even if my work is invisible because it's only seen by a few, you know, but I weave my work to serve in the community the way I can, using the means I have in this century and lacking the structure, you know, the old priestesses or the old priests used to have, you know, in antiquity. I agree with Lynn. I think we are warriors. I don't know a single priestess or priest of the goddess that is not an ecologist, and it doesn't fight for Mother Earth and doesn't share about this loving Mother Earth and sharing this consciousness of taking care of the planet. I don't know a single one that does not speak for Mother Earth or does not collect rubbish from the floor if someone threw it, you know, one that doesn't cry going to a river that is contaminated. You know, I think we are very much eco warriors, you know. I think we're very much eco warriors in this century. And I think one of our challenges, as I said, is to actually weave these connections, knowing that we don't have this support, we don't have the recognition. You know, when you say I'm a priestess, what is that? You know, it's like a lot of people doesn't know what we do, and that's why I thought it was important to put this discussion panel together, because each of you has a voice and each of you has an experience that needs to be heard. And hopefully This will help also people that does not belong to a pagan community to understand what do we do, what is at work. Because, you know, as I said, I hold other people in the paths, you know, they seek for guidance, I give guidance, I teach, but most of all, I support other people, even from the distance. You know, I'm there to support people, and I think it's extremely important that we do shine as lights for the community, and that we continue to do the work we do. I think it's extremely important also to work towards feeding the, you know, with light and shadows as well, you know, but kind of saying we are here, okay, we are a community, okay, you know, maybe we don't have a temple like you have your churches, but you know, hopefully those temples will come back. You know, as I said, I'm working very hard to actually open a temple here in Scotland, and there are other people opening temples in other parts of the world. You know, sacred spaces for the old gods to, you know, and for people to go and commune to these deities. So I think what we do, even our work, kind of is a bit you know, and hidden because we're not like a very big community compared to others. We are here, and I think it's important to say we are here, and we work for the community. We are at the service of the community and also Mother Earth. And I think, and I forgot to mention before, I am polytheistic. I don't only work with a goddess, I also work with gods. I think for me, it's important, you know, I am a mother of boys, you know, I had a father. I think I need to honor the masculine that I have bring to this world, and honor the masculine that was before me and that brought me into this world. You know, if you look into the mythologies, this goddess has a father or has a brother or has a, you know, and the goddess becomes pregnant and gives birth to the gods, you know, and for me it's very important to honor and to balance that, the feminine and the masculine. So I just wanted to add that as a wee comment. And I'm going to give the turn to Mariana Bitao. So Mariana, what is it to be a priestess of this century for you?
Well, first of all, I have to say I absolutely love this century. I love to be a woman in this era right now, in the place where I am, because if it was a matter of 40 years ago in this place, I wouldn't have a voice. I wouldn't be here. And I'm not just talking about technologies in Zoom. They are not exist, but I was not given the right to manifest my voice, my life, my mission. And so I love this century, first of all. Secondly, I absolutely agree with, I believe it was Anik that says that we need to validate and create our present traditions and our present devotions, because we cannot always look for the past to get the answers that we need for today. And I absolutely agree with it. I do believe that we are manifesting right now, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking really fast because I'm a bit excited with this question. I believe that we are manifesting a need. We have an anxiety. Should we call it an anxiety? It's a strong word for it, but it's what it is. We are manifesting a need that needs to be fulfilled in our human culture, in our human patterns and world patterns as well. So we are being kind of called to fulfill this duty. And I believe that if we are needed, and we are doing the thing that needs to be done, because something is absent and we need to fill it. What it means to be a priestess today is to assume a number of services. We dedicate to our goddess and goddesses. We dedicate ourselves to our communities. And for me, I cannot just strand specifically towards paganism or towards my tradition, because I need to always look at the whole. That's why I need to work interfaith as well. I am a recon, so I have my standards and my myths, and I drain from them from the ancient times of summer. But my preoccupation, my absolutely goal is to, from those myths, from those stories, from those archetypes, to build a path that can serve today and to make ourselves the better that we can be as humans, as the ones that have a say and has a hand on the future for all the species that live in it. So I need to make sure that my tradition goes towards this goal. And this will not happen if I just strain exclusively from the past. I need to have my feet on the ground, the today ground, and to be present and to devote myself to these goals and to, like you said, Ness, to weave these connections, to be able to reach within my sisters' community, and to have a voice that can be heard, to be visible, like Lynn said, to be vocal. And this is a really pressure for us. This is really, really hard, yes, solitary many times. It has some advantages, like Leslie said, when we have a self-made path, because we are in secrecy and we can just go back to the shadow. We will not be seen again. But we also, this generation at least that I see of witches and priestesses, they are getting vocal. They are being bold. We are being bold. We are in a conference that will be seen by anyone that wants to. And we are doing an amazing work right now. So I believe to be a priestess today, it's the sum of everything that you told before, wonderfully, may I say. And it's it's a commitment to our future to be a priestess today. It's to see, yes, priests will be here. Priests will be here for a long, long time. And we must not set our goal to be like the church. We need to do better than that. Because if the church was all that, the church was the better way, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be needed. Our voices and our stories and our traditions wouldn't be felt the need to express themselves. So this is what it means to be a priestess to me today.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you. Wonderful. Jeshi.
Well, my perspective on what it means to be a priestess is that the role itself is actually timeless and not really contingent upon the time that anyone finds herself in. Priestesses from time immemorial all over the world, regardless of what word is used to describe us, regardless of what our cultures of origin are, do the same functions at a very basic level. We live near a natural landform that is a source of power for us and our work, and that we help to protect. We burn fragrant herbs as a way to commune with spirit. We tend sacred waters as a way to ensure not only the purity of our drinking source, but also a good relationship with the earth spirits. We commune with the unseen worlds. where we receive inspiration, creativity, and information for the betterment of daily life. We give oracles and perform divinations, and we make medicines that can help people have visionary experiences. And we honor the deities of whatever tradition that we belong to. So those are things that I think are pretty much universal wherever you go and throughout all of time. The costumes change and the places change and the languages are different. And of course, you know, the methodologies and approaches of each are unique, but the function is pretty much the same regardless. And so for me, being a priestess in the 21st century is just to do all the things I've been doing for the last 10,000 years in all my bodies. And I just know how to do them. I was born knowing how to do them. I've always done those things. But the way that I do it is what makes the 21st century about it for me. So I'm an early adopter of technology. Anytime it comes out, anytime there's like I'm going to teach myself to build websites. I built an app. I love having cell phone. I love having access to all of the different tools that the 21st century gives for how I do my work in the world and how I connect with people. And so for me, the 21st century is, you know, has its own political arc. And the political arc, I think the other women on this panel have already, you know, elaborated on very eloquently about patriarchy and decolonization. The 21st century has a technological arc, the arc through which I access the different channels where I broadcast the messages that are coming through me. And the 21st century has, you know, kind of got like a creative or artistic arc in that the expression of what I do has a form that is impressed upon by the culture of my time. But other than that, I really feel like as a priestess, I am the one who holds the information about the ancient future. It's not the past and it's not the future. It's all time as one time. And I am a place that people can come and drop away their conceptualizations of time so that they can receive that grain of information, safety, sanctuary, or blessing that they need in order to connect with the eternal within them. So my job as a priestess in the 21st century or in any other century has always been and probably will always be inherently the same. I presence eternity. And that is the magic that I bring for this. So that's my contribution to that question.
Thank you so much, Yeshi. Thank you. Wonderful. Jade, Melanie.
I don't think there's a great deal I can say after what everybody has said already. I'd like to echo Yeshi. I love technology. I have always loved technology. I love building websites. I love creating community online because that seems to work better for me. I get so nervous talking in front of people anytime, but this setting is so much better because you can literally be in your own space, be comfortable, but you can talk to lots and lots of people. So to me, being a priestess now, it's perfect because that medium works really, really well for me. And to be able to connect with like-minded people like yourselves in this environment, it's just amazing. And it continues to be so. That said, before coronavirus, my work as a priestess was people coming to me and me going to them for advice and for support and help cleansing their houses to get rid of things that they thought were influencing them and stuff like that. So like locally, if there was ever a need for cleansing space, then there would be a knock at the door. Can you come? Can you come? I think there's something I need cleared out, that kind of thing. And I really like doing that for people. It's lovely for them to feel comfortable in their own home afterwards, once you've cleansed and smudged and put crystals out for them and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to being able to go and help people to do that again. So
we'll
thank
get
you.
there.
Eventually.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Sarita, will you share with us?
So, wow, there's so many things that all of you have already said, and you know, so much that I do agree with, especially what Yesha said. I was also very early on involved in internet communities. You know, in the mid-90s, I was already running communities online for people with shared beliefs. And I worked in that industry a little bit, not in the internet world, for a little bit. So I learned a lot in the early days, and I was able to start forming communities online. And I know that people still talk about, oh, it's online and real world, but the internet and this space that we are in right now is still a space.
Yeah.
It's maybe not a space that we can physically walk into, but here we are. You know, I can see Anik, I think you're in Australia still at the moment. You know, Yesha and you're all over the world right now. And, you know, Ness, you're way up in Scotland. I'm way down here in England. And yet we are able to come together and share our ideas as if we're sitting together in any space. It could be in a living room or in a temple. And for me, therefore, online spaces can be sacred spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And for the vast majority of people coming into the goddess spiritual movement or paganism or other esoteric approaches working with the divine feminine today, whether polytheistic or whichever kind of combination of it, the vast majority of us are converts. And, you know, that might change again in future, but as converts to any religion, and this is not just true for our, you know, different kind of corners and traditions and stuff, but anybody that's a convert to religion needs to spend a lot more time and tend to inform themselves a lot more than somebody that was raised in a religion. And it's kind of like we've got to compensate by learning and doing more, because we didn't have the benefit necessarily of attending, you know, goddess ceremonies as children or as teenagers and going through those rites of passage. So one thing for me about as being a priestess in the 21st century, and like Yesha kind of expressed, I do believe that I've done this before. And it's not something I talk about a lot, because I tend, a lot of the work I put out is much more historical and, you know, based on mythology and folklore and the writings and archaeology that can be found going back many hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. So a lot of work I put out is that I don't tend to talk about my personal experiences so much. But I do believe I've been here and I've done this many, many times before. Mm-hmm. And I feel that what the 21st century's got, that maybe some of us should appreciate, I believe, should appreciate more than trying to kind of think, oh, well, you know, way back in the day when we had temples and all that, is when people had, when, you know, say 300 BC, just kind of plucking some data out of my, you know, out of thin air, those temples would have been connected by people traveling. That is true. But the vast majority of those temples would have been very isolated for the most of it. And the ability to learn from priesthood of other traditions, other parts of the world. I mean, the world wasn't as connected as we are today. We wouldn't be hearing about the Philippines and Venezuela and Scotland and, you know, everybody was much more localized. So we have a fantastic opportunity today because of the internet and other technologies. I mean, even the telephone a few decades ago would have started changing that, because we can learn from one another. And we can learn in these spaces, these online spaces, through the medium of writing or video these days, that makes it so much more personal to be able to kind of look at you. I mean, I've met some of you, there's a couple of you I've never met, but the ability to talk like this, you kind of start feeling like we know each other, right? And that's just not something that would have been available way back in the day to the same extent that it is today. The other thing that really sets us apart, and I think that is really exciting in this current age, is the ability for us to access information.
Yes.
So I guess that's an extension of learning from one another, but it is also the ability to fact check. And that has become so important, not just with politics and environmentalism, where even with the best of intentions, people put out information they believe is true, or they share something. And the person believes that it's true in the moment that they do that. But we have the ability to fact check, and we can go back to so many sources, like no generation before us. We have access to literally thousands of free books right now on the internet, things that are out of copyright that are helpful. And it must be millions of websites about the gods, the goddess, the feminine, divine, spiritualism, feminism. We have the opportunity to connect and learn from so many people for very little expense and very little effort. So I feel that in the 21st century, in addition to things that some of you have already said, this ability for us to learn and to question what we're told and to check what we're told and to really sometimes go back to grassroots and to challenge the things that we are told again and again and again, and that even we take for granted. Many of you have mentioned the influence of Christianity in the various places that you are and the negative effect that this sometimes has had. And of course, in places, people would argue that it's had a positive effect as well. But it has destroyed communities when people forcefully change religion or change culture or, anything like that. It really destroys communities. But a lot of the information that we talk about when we talk about the Christian church and Christianity in Western culture is also not entirely true. There's a hell of a lot of propaganda that are even kind of passed on in goddess circles today. One of the big ones is that Christianity is kind of taken over for 2,000 years. But of course, that's just simply not actually accurate. Christianity only became like the majority religion or the legal religion of the Roman state 600 years ago. And it didn't automatically become the majority religion in every part of Europe, let alone the majority religion in every part of the world. It is actually not as old as we sometimes give it credit for. And there were so many pockets of older beliefs that survived in Europe. And yet, for some reason, even within our circles, we sometimes, it's kind of like we gloss over it and say, oh, well, it was all revived and it was all kind of reinvented. But that's just not true. There's so much that survived. And we have the facts for it. And what I'd love to see going forward in the rest of the 21st century is that more of us inform ourselves more about these things, so that when somebody says, oh, well, somebody made this up in the 50s and this was made up in the 60s, then we can go, well, maybe it's made up, but, look at this. This shows that this was actually an active thing. And I would really like to see that we question the things we're told a little bit more, and that we add to that the ability to accumulate knowledge and to access knowledge. We don't have to memorize everything. Most of us have got smartphones. I'm not very good with my phone, but we have phones, we can access information. And I just think the 21st century and technology and everything like that is possibly the best thing that can happen to us, and our ability to use it is what will determine the success of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant.
Thank you. I totally agree with you there. We live in a new Alexandria called Google. And I love it. Great, thank you. We're going to see if Aide, so Side, let's see if she can join us. She there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello.
Hello, I'm delighted with everybody what has saying, and is magical to be a high priest in the 20th century. It hasn't been easy, but it has been magical nevertheless. To be a priest in this era is a challenge. It is a challenge, and it's a commitment with the goddess, commitment with our ancestor, commitment with everything that we have, everything. To be a priest in this era is to be the channel between the people and the magical being behind the veil. Is to be the opportunity to enjoy and to use all the technical, the internet, the Instagram, everything. We can connect it, and we can give to other our experience, like we were here. I enjoyed every minute of this conference. It has been a present to me. It's really magical. If I have to say it, what is magic? This is magic. This is the goddess in every one of you. This is a present of her. Every manifestation of my goddess is in every face that I have seen right now. Every one of you is that goddess for me, because the goddess has many faces. I can see here in Venezuela, I can see in the goddess that the Yanomami call, in the goddess that I call in my temple, in the goddess that we call the mother that is behind our food, is the goddess that I sing it, is the goddess that I fighting for. Because yes, we are a warrior. If in this time we are a warrior, we are, because we have to preserve our Mother Earth. We have to preserve the divinity in our heart and in every woman, and also in the man. Because I am a mother of 9, 4 from my body, and 5 from my heart. Well, 6 because Ness is one of my baby. And this is important because I have sons, and I have to teach them in this 20th century to respect the human, not only because her mother is a woman, it's because the divinity, the goddess are in her, in every one of the human being, male or woman. The goddess is everything in different manifestations. But I teach my sons, I teach my grandsons, I teach my daughter and my granddaughter to find the goddess in their heart, to look around and they can see the goddess, different faces, but there she is. She's around us. Well, I am a 64-year-old woman, but I have a granddaughter, and she is other faces of the goddess. My daughter has find the face of the goddess that she needed. The goddess has every face for everyone. The healer, the mother, the youngest, the child. I sing to the goddess. I am a polytheistic like Ness and many, I sing to God because I'm a woman and I have my child from a man. And they give it, this part of the goddess. The wedding, the sacred wedding, for me is important. Everything around is the face of my Mother Earth, is the face of my goddess. For that is, for me, it's an honor to serving the goddess in this 21st century. For me, it's a challenge to teach everybody that I know to recognize the goddess in their heart, to see her face in an animal, in a dog, in a bear, in another human being. To be a priest in this era is to try to uncover the connection with the ancestor, with the God, with the natural magical creature, and the magic in every one of us. To be a priest in this era is to be the channel between the people and this magical creature and the goddess. For that reason, I teach them. I'm a healer, I'm a witch, and enjoy it to be a witch. I dance.
And you are a very good
with
witch.
The fire, like. Thank you. I love all the faces of the witches, but I have one that make my heart like a jelly, and that one for my heart is Hecate. She make my heart like a jelly, and that experience, that connection with the faces of the goddess is important. I love Hecate, but I sing to Bridget, I sing to Morrigan, I sing to Mama Lola, I sing to Yara. This is the goddess, the name of the goddess of the Indian in Venezuela. I love Yara. I sing to her. I dance to her. It's important for everyone. And this, to be a priestess in the 21st century is to have the opportunity to know each other. I may be in other circumstances, I can never see your faces or have the time to communicate with any of you, any. But right now, I have the opportunity because in the 20th century, we have internet. Well, here is not very good, I'm sorry for that, but we have it. And for me, this is the magic of this time. This is the magic. And I enjoy to be here with every one of you to see the faces of the goddess in the face of every one of you, in the heart of any one of you. I love my goddess. I love the work that we have to do in this time because we have the opportunity to teach our children, our grandchildren, to have this connection, because it's like has been someone has taken the connection out, and we have now the opportunity to make that connection again possible. We're talking about men are bad, men are bad. We are the mother of that man. We have to teach them to be different. What is for me is impossible. I cannot say, no, I don't like men. I love men, women, I love them. I had children, I had son, I had grandson. My work is to teach them to love the goddess, to love the human, to respect woman. Because if they respect you, woman, they respect himself. They have, it's a lot of work in this century. And we have the opportunity to make that change in the right way. It's a challenge, but I know we're gonna do it. And if we start the way, but our daughter, our granddaughter, has a lot of work to do, and all that work depends on us. It's our responsibility. No one else has that responsibility. It's in our hands, and it's our work. Well, that's for me what I think. For me, it's a challenge, and I enjoy it. I take it. I say, okay, I am a high priest. For what? For working, for teach, for heal. That's what high priest is to be. Not only singing, it's work. And every word for every priest is different. We have to find our work. One of us can heal, another can write, another can
Publish books.
make, yes, public book, Sarita. And everyone has their work, their place, and everyone is important. Well, that's what I think. And I really enjoy this conference. And I want to thank everybody. I want to thank every one of you for the opportunity you have given me to share and to know a beautiful wishes, a beautiful high priestess, and to know they work in this planet. We have this magic connection on the 21 with the internet. We can enjoy it. And this can be the first conference, but we can have more. I hope one day you can come to Venezuela, because I promised to Hecate, I will make a temple here. Agnes know me, I never accept no. I'm a warrior. And I hope one day we can make a reunion here. This is a magic place, and I will take you to the Amazon to see Yara, to connect with the Yara, the goddess of the Tepui, of the jungle, and you will see the faces of the goddess in that magical place. All the goddess, Hecate, Morrigan, all you're gonna see there. Well, this is what I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. It's absolutely wonderful to listen to all of you, and to it's a real pleasure and a gift to be here listening to you all and be connected to you all. I think one of the words I heard tonight, and I think it's a very, very important word to us priestesses of the 21st century. It's all about connections. I think it's a lot also about connections and about connecting, and about, I think, if I had to say quickly, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to close this discussion panel and express quickly, if someone asks you and you have to define what is to be a priestess now, here, I will take that word. I am a connector of the sacred. I am someone who brings the sacred first into myself to be able to bring it for others and connect them to the sacred. And I want to invite you to share quickly one of your thoughts. What is it for you?
Service. Just service, humble service.
Yes.
Knowing in order to serve.
You got open mic.
I think for me it's I was going to say gatekeeper, but people have a different meaning for gatekeepers to the meaning I have. It's like the picture of the light of the world, where Christ is stood there, and there's no door handle on the other side, because you can't. Somebody has to open it for you, and I think that's the role of the priestess in the modern world, is to open the gate and let people go through. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Manifestating.
I'd like to. Sorry.
Just go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. It's open mic.
Okay.
Quickly.
Sorry. I feel I want to talk just very briefly about the priestess convocation. I know that some of you know about it, maybe some of you don't know about the convocation, but I feel that word connecting is really, really important. I love connecting through the internet. I don't know how to do it, but thank the goddess I have priestesses that help me out that way, which is fantastic. But I feel that it's really, really important when we come together in the physical as well, because I feel that we all bring through a particular transmission, an energy. And when we all come together in the physical, those connections of those transmissions that come through us become amplified. And so I find what happens for me is when I go to a goddess conference or a goddess gathering or festival, whatever, I start to get enormous downloads. That's kind of when I get rejuiced. And I don't get rejuiced in the same way. I mean, rejuice, the juice. I don't get that same kind of rejuicing when I'm on the internet. It does inspire me because, yes, I've loved hearing what everybody said, but it's not the same as coming together. And so the priestess convocation, bringing priestesses from all over the world together with a shared vision and a shared intention is, I think, an amazing opportunity. And I'm asking all of you here today to really support me in this, because it will happen. It's just a matter of time. We can't travel at the moment, but we will be able to travel again. And if we can all come together, if this is just a taste of what can happen when priestesses stand up and name themselves as priestesses, come together as priestesses, celebrate as priestesses, I can't even begin to imagine what will come out of that experience.
Yeah, I think we all priestesses hold a vision of what we want to do or what we want to give to this world. And I think it's wonderful, in this century, we are able to actually share and bring our visions into reality. I think it's beautiful. Mariana, I think you wanted to share.
You already spoiled me because, yes, manifestating, that was what I'm going to say.
Sorry.
It's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect because it's the connection. Just embrace it. We are making waves as we go, and that's a good sign.
For me, it's presence, that knowing that someone is actually really listening and really sees and hears you. That's the gift that I think the priestess can offer in a world where so often when someone is talking, everyone else is just planning what they'll say next.
For me, everything everybody said here is on point. Ultimately, I just want to bring harmony and peace.
Thank you.
I know it sounds basic. I'm sorry. Like that's essentially what I'm doing. It sounded like a Miss Universe speech, but it is. That's ultimately what I'd like to get to.
Well,
Thank you.
anyone
Ness,
else?
For me,
Ness, may I just share the
yes.
chorus of my song, We Are the Priestesses of Old? Just the chorus. It's very short.
Yes, I just want to
We are
give.
the priestesses of old. We are remembering. We are remembering. We are the priestesses of now. We are reclaiming. We are reclaiming. We are the priestesses through time, and we are glorious. Yes, we are glorious. We are the priestesses of she. We are eternal. We are eternal.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if Sarita or Sarah or Leslie would like to say something else, or Jade. And I think we will close this discussion panel, which has been an absolute pleasure to share with you, ladies. So if any of you want to say something else.
I would just like to say thank you to everybody present. It has been an honour.
It's been absolutely fascinating. It really has.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Ness, for organising this, and thank you, everybody, for sharing your wisdom and your experience. It's an honour.
Thank you. Thank you. So I hope this discussion panel will help those that are aliens to the concept of priesthood, being a priestess or a priest in this century, a little bit of a bit of light on the concept. You know, I would like to. I think I can't remember who of you said this. I think it was Sulcire or Sarita, I'm not sure. Being a priestess in this century is not so much about having a really cool cloak or a very nice crown. It's actually a lot of work. And I think you ladies will agree with that. It's a lot of work to be a priestess, but it's a beautiful work as well. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you from the different corners of the world for being here. This is a cute heart. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope this beautiful sharing will bring light and something to think about for anyone that access this talk. It's going to be open and free for everybody to enjoy. So thank you very much again. And I hope to see you. I hope to see some of you soon once COVID is over. And always we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody, and It was a pleasure to share with every of these beautiful wishes for all around the world. And every one of here has an invitation to be together here in Venezuela, in the Amazon. I want every one of you to come here and to share a big ritual to the goddess in the magical water of the Amazon, of the Caroni.
Thank you. Thank you.